Yes, sir. Cedric, we're rocking with one of the hottest producers that's been in this game a long time, man. That's Mr. Laney Stewart. What's up, baby?
Hey,
What's up, y'all? What's
hey,
happening?
you got it. You got it.
Yes,
Glad
sir.
to be here. We got it.
Man, Laney, just with all this that's going on around with the pandemic and everything that's happening right now in the world, man, how you been doing, man,
Yeah.
and what's been up, bro?
It's been pretty good. Other than that, the pandemic and being kind of trapped in the house. But it's been life is great. I can't complain. All the family is happy and healthy, and that's what's been kind of out of all of this the most important thing.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Are there any new projects you're working on, man? Talk to us a little about, if there's anything you've been working on while you've been in the house. I know you can't really travel and move around like you used to and maybe
Yeah.
want to do, but there may be some things you're working on. Is there anything we can look forward to?
Yeah, there's a lot of things. I mean, one of the things that's out of the pandemic that didn't really stop was everybody was recording. So particularly, put a studio in the house, and been working from here. So we've been one of the things that's going on right now is we're really kind of switching from, our typical business model of working with major artists and working with and really building our independent label structure. So this year has been a lot of writing for our own artists, and what it is that we're doing with them. But yeah, there's still projects. Was working on some stuff a couple weeks ago for Mary J. Blige. Working. I got a bunch of calls in for Chris is back in the studio. So those are the things that are just kind of in the process right now that we're working on. But the main focus is really getting and trying to build this independent structure with our labels and what's going next. So that's what it's things that you haven't seen yet that we hope that within the next couple of years it'll be on everybody's playlist. So
what's up? That's what's up.
Yeah.
Man, I want to just take you back a little bit, man. Like just
okay.
get in your mind. Take us to that time in your life when, because I know you work with so many artists, bro. We're talking Tony Braxton, Chris Brown, The Dream. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. Take us to that time, man, because a lot of people may not know the type of footprint you've had in this music game because you worked a lot behind the scenes. Talk a little bit about that, man, and what's gotten you to where you are today.
Well, I mean, I really believe kind of what we were discussing earlier is the Chicago music scene was really had a lot to do with, why and how and what. My mom and her sisters had a singing group that was the session singers in Chicago. They did a lot of commercials, but they also sang background on a lot of records for Curtis Mayfield and Charles Stepney, and they were produced by the Ohio Players. Had a couple record deals themselves. I had an uncle that was in the jingle business and session musician. So, we grew up around these guys a lot and saw kind of what the capabilities were. And so my aunt being a great singer, my mom being a great vocal arranger, I think all of these things allowing us to, and then really kind of coming from the church too. My grandfather was a bishop in our church. So, we grew up heavily in that, and it all kind of start to make some things come together musically for us. But the studio session musician and producers around Chicago really kind of set things off, even to the point to when I first started getting into the house music scene back in when it first started. It was me and Steve and Farley Keith, Jamie Principle. It was just like back when GCI and BMX used to have battles.
Yeah.
That's when we started. I started in the house game back then.
Wow.
And then got into jingles.
Steve Silk Hurley?
Steve Silk Hurley, yeah.
Yeah.
That's my boy. Yeah.
Wow.
We all started
bro.
Yeah, we started at the same time. We used to work for this company called DJ International Records out of Chicago. Rocky Jones, shout out to him because he had a lot of talented people that was on that label. Not a lot happened from it for us per se, but just the experience of making those records, was a big thing.
Hey, Laney, I have to ask you a question, man. You got your start kind of doing jingles, and then it went up from there. But would you recommend people to try to start a jingle company nowadays?
I think the business is a lot different from when I was in it. In Chicago at that time, people made careers off of it. I mean, people were making millions and millions of dollars just going in singing commercials. I think it's readjusted itself, but it's not that business anymore. So I always say that anytime you can get some studio experience that's not you don't have to pay for, it's
Yeah,
great.
I hear
So,
you. Yeah.
what doing jingles was for me and what my specialty was, particularly working for Burrell and different companies like that, was making them sound like records. So I used to do commercials, and my specialty was to make them sound like it was a record. And a lot of times the client, these things are 30 seconds, 60 seconds long. The client would say, "Can you do me a 3-minute version of that?" So we would do 3-minute versions, and it was just practice for what it was that we ended up ultimately doing.
Wow.
So I would suggest it if you can if you can obviously make some money out of it and make a career out of it, absolutely.
Well, let me ask you this, Laney. When you're doing all of this and you breaking into the industry, you're making some money doing it.
Yeah.
When did you know in your mind that you pretty much you've solidified yourself in this music game? Like, when did that moment come for you? Talk to us about that moment.
Oh, wow. Me and my brother was talking about this the other day. There's 2 moments. There's a video that we just found that one of my son's mother sent me a bunch of videos that captured the moment that when we got it. We were actually in the studio working out of the studio, and yeah, it's crazy. We're getting ready to put it all together and edit it, but there was a moment to where we were working on a project. There was a band, I don't know if you guys remember this, I'm dating myself a little bit, named Amusement Park Band.
Yeah.
And I was producing the lead singer of Amusement Park Band, Ruben. And we were mixing his stuff. And when we got done playing it in the video, we were like, yo, that sounds like the radio. Like, it was the first time we had copped a record that just like, yo, that's it. And everybody kind of in the room knew it. And that was the music that got me my first publishing deal. I think secondly, after that was when I got a call from Benny Medina, and I had never met Benny before. He called me over to his office. I missed the first meeting because I was doing a commercial for BBD, actually. For Coca-Cola, I was doing a spot for them. And I was like, oh, he probably ain't gonna want to meet with me no more. And he was like, no, he got to come back over here. So I went the next day over to Warner Brothers, sat with him, and he said, Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis want to work with you. And I'm thinking, oh, it's going to be, okay, well, cool. What, like a few months ago, it's like, oh, they want to know, can you come up to Minneapolis next week? And that's when I went, oh, this is real. And I never touched down again. It just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. Yeah. Yeah, it just went crazy. Yeah, I never got to say bye to none of my friends or nothing. It was just like, just it was done.
We have a lot of artists on here, and we always ask them the question. They always tell us the same thing, about building relationships in the business. How big is that, building relationships?
It's huge. It's huge. I mean, it's a lot of times people go, when I say Benny Medina, or I can say names that are now, infamous in the music business, or still, Diddy or any of these people, we were all trying to get it off at the same time. It wasn't like, so we're building relationships with each other that are now, everybody's kind of gone into the whatever their stratosphere is in the music business. But, in those days, it's just networking. I like to call it networking, particularly because I think building relationships comes from networking. And networking allows you to be able to sit in the room and go, yo, you're not targeting people. You just want to meet everybody. Yeah. And you never know when that person is going to come in and you need to go, oh, I know him. I met him back at such and such and such. We've been working, So those things come around. You may not have anything, that one meeting may not do anything for you for 12 years. But you can go, man, remember when we met? And they're like, oh, yeah, that's right. They can always pinpoint that moment to where you started the building of that relationship.
Speaking of relationships, man, that my partner, got you on this path. You got great relationships with people we've had on the show, like Tony Haynes, Tony Prof T. I mean, talk a little bit about that work that you guys done together in those projects, and what was the most significant, one that or memorable one that you could recall that meant a lot to you?
Tony is Tony Haynes and I were like kind of on the LA and Babyface, Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis. That was, we met, our publishers set up a meeting, and it was so funny because we had all of these publishers, and they had he was with Island Publishing and I was with Famous Music Publishing, and they're all sitting on this table. I'll never forget it. This long table, and Island is on this side, and they're, they talking to each other. Tony's at the other end of the table, and I'm looking at him, and he looking at me, and I'm like, who is this dude? And he looking at me, he's like, who is this dude? This young kid coming up in here. And so they all talking, so they go, guys, you think you could write something together? We went, yeah, let's see. And I went home to Chicago, and I wrote a record. It's called The Deeper I Love. And it never really did anything. I think Regina Bell ended up cutting it. I didn't produce it, but I think she recorded it. But I sent him the melody and everything, and he came back with the lyrics. And that one record set off me and him doing like 52 records together, placing 52 records that year.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, like we just went insane. It went crazy. And we wrote a lot where him being in LA and me being in Chicago and sending him, voice notes. Like we didn't have the technology. So it was like I'd sing the melody over the phone and he have a little cassette machine, like taking the melody, and then he come back
That's
with the
crazy.
lyrics.
Yeah.
And I produced the demo. It was like that was our thing. He faxed me that's back in those days, it was a fax. He faxed me the lyrics, and so it was a definite little system. But no, Tony probably had the biggest realistic record business experience that I started off with, really understanding the record business. What it really is about. Tony was in the game before me, writing for Earth, Wind and Fire. Tony was writing for everybody. So, with him coming in and then kind of us coming together, we were new and didn't know LA. We didn't know the game. Tony had that experience and was able to, teach us so much, like just going to get how to go get an American Express card. Like, he's like, y'all ain't got no American Express card? Oh, come on, let me take you go get an American Express card. Everything.
Wow.
Like he was a mentor, a writing partner, the whole bit. So we wrote together for about, I think 2 to 3 or 4 years like that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Now, you've been in the game for so long. You've been in the game a long time, and you're still in the game. How do you feel about the music industry now? What is your views on the music industry post pandemic?
Future, looking into the future, or just where we are?
Yes.
The future right now. I don't know. I'll be honest with you. I'm never usually lost for words of what the future holds. I think that we're going to see, one of the things that I think that we're going to see is much more virtual concerts. The live show is going to be much more of a bigger thing. I think not only because we were moving in that direction anyway in live music, but I just think that where we are, we have so much music thrown at us on a day. I think somebody told me it's 60,000 pieces of music that are uploaded every day.
Wow.
That the consumer has to sort through and find. Radio's changing. People are not listening to radio anymore. People are, some people are opting into the, some Spotify and, so we have so many options to where we find our music and find our entertainment, period. So I believe it's never going to go back to the way it was. I can tell you that.
Wow.
But it's never going back there. Never. I think the kids today, they get to digest their music quicker. So you have to have more products out. You can't take a long time. You used to have artists that would take a year to make an album. You don't have that anymore. Now you got to have content coming every 30 days, every 45 days. It has to be hitting. So I think that we're going to see just great songs. But I don't know that we'll be loving the artist as much as an artist without a great song is going to have a hard time. It's going to be it's going to go back to the writers and producers and being able to really kind of make a record. I believe, make the records for the artist and making sure that they have the good song. If you don't have a great song right now, people are listening to all kinds of music with their playlists.
Yeah.
You could be listening to country music, you can have rock, you
Yeah,
can have everything, everything that you want. So when you have that, you can take the cream of the crop of all of those markets together and make one playlist that's happy for you. You don't have to buy any albums. I don't know that there's a purpose in making an album anymore. I think we're back to the single business, like it was in the early days, Motown, where people just put forth, in those days they put out the 45s.
Yeah.
I think that's what we are. I haven't heard an album that I said I love this album. In a long time.
It's not like it used to be. Wow.
No, but there's some great, and particularly as it pertains to Black R&B music, it's some good stuff out there that we have to, as a community, really, we got to search for, because they pushing, the trap thing for us, like it's all that we have. But it's some really great R&B and great music out there. It's just so much of it. People got to dig through the crates. Going online is like going to the record store. You have to dig through, and you can, tell what you like something or you don't, but people have to really get used to finding their music in this way.
Wow.
Yeah. Laney, I want to just ask you something, man, because I think it's important. Young artists today that are trying to break into this business.
Yeah.
The number one thing is, man, how do you get paid? It's so different now. How do you make money? How are you going about, even if you're a producer or a writer, how do you go about making your money today?
Well, I think the important thing is that we found out, going back to like what I was said about Tony, you have to get an education about this business. This is called the music business.
Yeah.
And sometimes the musician in us and how much we love what we do makes us blind to the business part of this. And artists today have to, as we did, we were stupid. I don't want to say we were stupid, but we were naive. Because we just wanted to be, oh man, you're gonna make me a star. I want to get a deal with the labels. They gonna do all of this. That don't work no more. That's not that, these kids now have to have the savvy to be able to understand where their money is coming from, where their revenue streams are coming from. But you have to also understand they see it much different than we do, because they can make money just off of YouTube. They can make money off of, all of these platforms that are out here, not just streams, but not just the streams on the platforms like Spotify, but there's so many ways of partnering with a sponsor and all of these things. So as the music industry is developing and the entertainment business is developing as a whole, I think that we're looking at seeing the change, but understanding where the coins are. And I think it's time for us, we talk about this all the time, that producers are going to start to unionize, I think, and we're hopefully going to get a union together so that songwriters and, everybody in the movie business has a union. Producers and songwriters don't have a union, and the labels take advantage of that. And over the years, when I was in the game and we were called super producers, we will never have that again. You will never see the suit. We had too much power. It cost them too much to work with us. And now it's so many people. Everybody that got a laptop now is a producer and songwriter.
So that's what they say.
They say they are. I have to qualify. Are you a working producer songwriter? That's but right now we have so many people who they play the numbers. They go, okay, well, we'll just wait until some kid that's in his basement right now, that's got hot stuff, and start coming out. And then when it comes to us, then that's when we'll so we don't have to wait for Laney and Trick, and we don't have to wait for Tim and them. They're not beholden to us in the way that they used to be to come get it. They'll wait because they understand these kids is on the street. They know what's happening. They know what the sound is, and they're talking to other kids. So and they've driven the prices down on the young producer, so that these guys are working for a different amount of money than we would work. We would never work for that amount of money. So it's changed it from that perspective, and that's a little bit of a glimpse, I think, into the future.
Wow.
Awesome.
That didn't sound dark. I hope it didn't sound dark.
No, it didn't. You gotta love what you're doing. You gotta love, telling all the young artists there, you gotta really love it.
Yeah,
that one took a minute to digest, Laney. That took a minute to digest, bro.
I was like, wait, that might have been a little dark. I should have for the interview, I should have coded it a little different. The future looks great. It looks great.
Yeah.
Man, your family's worked with a lot of big name artists. Talk to us a little bit about that history, man. Ohio players, man, you name it, man. Y'all,
Curtis Mayfield, Aretha Franklin.
Your family's been in this game. Talk to us a little bit about that.
I think it's about vision. Thank God my mom and her sisters were doing what they did, and they provided so much vision for us to be able to see the possibilities of it. In a million years, me and my brothers talk about this a lot. We didn't, I just wanted one gold album, to be honest. I just wanted one. And what I think has happened for us, and the secret is that we've just taken it song by song. And these artists that we've been blessed enough to work with, if you get into the song business, I heard Drake say the other day, I'm a songwriter. He ain't a rapper. Drake is a songwriter. When you become a songwriter in the music business, you can pretty much go for a long period of time.
Yeah.
You're not dated. You can really understand.
Wow.
As long as you can understand what's happening on the streets,
yeah,
you can be productive in the record business. And that's just what's happened to us. Once we started building our studio facilities, that's like a laboratory where we were able to go and experience, and a lot of times get the artists to come in. And, they might be thinking, oh, I'm just going to come through and see Laney and Trick and come through and go, oh, that's crazy. And then take that record, because we had an infrastructure. So, we've worked with everybody going back to, I like to talk about it from the perspective of like the great producers and songwriters we worked with, like Jimmy and Terry. I worked with Babyface for a few years, writing and producing with him. The great Lil Silas, those guys from back in those days that were in Black music that kind of held it down. And so that's how they taught us that it's all about the song. Yeah. So, we got New Edition. You had stuff that we was on with Bobby Brown. We had Shantae Moore, Keith Washington in that period, to going to 112, to Faith Evans, to, the 90s were pretty much on lock. Then Tricky's career took off. Who Dat was the first, when he did Who Dat, that was the number one rap record of the year. We don't even, that's the only rap record I think we've ever really done, and it came out and just blew up with Who Dat. And then after that, we had other people that were in the building, and, Candy and Tiny came in and wrote No Scrubs and Bills with Beyonce. So it just, it never, I can't always remember the artists, because it's always for us. And I think when you're really good at what you do, you're always thinking about the next artist.
Yeah.
When you get done with a record, you're done with a record. I probably don't even listen to the records anymore after they're done, because you've just spent so much time with it. Now, obviously the result comes, and if you get a result with the record and you're blessed enough to get a hit with it, it's great. But that same effort is put into every record, whether it makes it or not. So, it's just been one of those situations where it's like, even with Chris, I wrote that record. It was a record that I actually worked on that for a year, working on that record. And then as soon as I was done, like my boy sent it to, he's like, man, I'm gonna send this to Chris. And Chris called, he's like, yo, I gotta have this record. So, it's just boom. It's just like you get done with a song and you go, who would this be good for? Sometimes it ain't good for nobody, because nobody's looking for that. You might be ahead of the curve, and then 2 years later, somebody goes, yo, that is crazy. And you place that record. So, and a shout out to Tony Haynes, because Tony was the one who taught us how to shop records. There's an art to shopping records.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah,
That's
Tony
good.
was the guy that really was the man on the shopping the records. I would have a song, me and him would have a song written, and Tony would have it placed in 2 days. And not, like, he'd be like, yeah, I got it on such and such. It wasn't maybe the greatest artist at the time, but he would move records. So, and that's how you build a copyright. That's how you build your whole program and portfolio is a catalog of songs that you just place music. So that's an art within itself.
Let me ask you about those songs. Were they all those songs you created, were they complete? You said, I'm done with this. This is a real song. This is a song right now. Or were they ideas? I mean, were they just the complete songs, or did you have to work on them, or did you want to work on them more?
Well, back in those days, you know, when you have your own studio, you can kind of get trapped into a vortex and kind of a little bit, because back then and in Atlanta, you know, we just went to the studio every day. In Chicago, with my studio in Chicago, we just went to the studio every day, and you just create. And when you're creating, sometimes people come through while you're creating and they go, oh, can I get on that? Sometimes it's done. Sometimes they come in and we have nothing and we got to sit there and talk and what you're going through, what's happening in your life right now. Do you want to sing about that? You know, what do we want to talk about? You know, and you might spend 4 days just having a conversation, and then all of a sudden, boom, you go in the room and you start spitting out stuff because of the conversations that you've had. So, you know, I learned that from Jimmy and Terry. A lot of the writing process is just literally, you know, sitting around and talking. You know, what's going on with you, you know, getting in their business. You know, I call it getting in the artist business. You know, so
Laney, go back to that though. Go back to that shopping, man, because it's a lot of producers and writers, you know, in Chicago, in the area where we live. What is the art to shop in your music? How do you get it picked up?
Yeah.
Well, it's different now because now people can, you know, these kids are, man, like there was, you know, etiquette. You know, you go to the meeting. I got them, you know, back when we were doing it early days. You had to set up a meeting. Your publisher set up a meeting, maybe. You know, you went over and you played music for the label, and they would go, "I like that," or "Can you give me something with that?" I think the biggest goal to shopping music for me is just like anything that any other salesman, when you selling, you want to walk away with something. You don't want to walk out of there with nothing. A lot of times you'll take a meeting in those days and you didn't have anything in your pocket that they liked, but what you were trying to sell was that the artist an opportunity to get an opportunity with the artist or an opportunity to come back again and play another record for him.
Mm.
So if your stuff is garbage to start, that's gonna make it hard.
Yeah.
You know, that's gonna make it real hard. If you go in there, if you go in there and you play something that's gonna change the life of people around you, you know, LA said this great thing. He's like, a hit song creates jobs. And people don't understand what that, you know, how big it is. That means, you know, when you write a song, when we write a hit, that means that it's touring. People gonna be driving trucks, putting up stages, lights. There's promotion and marketing. There's managers. There's hairstylists. All of these things go off of that moment when we write that song.
Wow.
So, you know, it's a pivotal part in our business. But now it's changed because now they have what they call these writing camps where they get all of these kids together in the rooftops and headphones on, and they go in there and the label comes and they have 100 songs and they go through tracks and they go, we want these 5 tracks. It's like a cattle call.
Wow.
Yeah, so, you know, that's for the younger kids that don't know, you know, if they're still coming up. For us, it's still a little different because then you can still go, oh, Laney got a track for such and such, or Tricky's got a track, or, you know, whoever. I'm sure the other A-list producers back in the day, we all probably can still make that call. But when the way they're doing it now is that they have all of these kids and they just play tracks and tracks and tracks. And then they have 2, 5 or 6 top line writers that they know that they want to write. And then they'll pick the tracks and the top line writers will write something and they'll just keep going. And sometimes we'll be on a record and be like, oh, that hook from that song is better on this song. Let's take it off that song and put it onto this song. So it's a lot of cut and paste now. Like it's very different.
Wow.
Man, amazing, man. Give us, you know, I mean, Cedric and I have been in music a long time. What were some of the most memorable moments for you, like working with like Tony Braxton and Chris Brown and some of the other, you know, big artists that are hot right now? What were some of the most memorable moments for you?
I think the ones that are memorable is when they're able to have a personal takeaway. Probably one of the ones that I'll stick out would be Charlie Wilson. Because when Charlie called me, I'd worked with Charlie before when he had gotten a deal through our MCA, and we worked on a record called, me and Tony wrote it, called "This Is My Prayer," actually. And and this is no, Charlie put his testimony out there. Charlie had a drug problem.
Yep.
And it was in a bad, he was in a bad way. And so fast forward some years later, my brother calls me and says, "Hey man, Charlie wants you guys to do a record on him." And I was like, I kind of was reluctant because I just didn't know what space he was in. And he came and Charlie said he just want to get on the phone with you. So me and him got on the phone. I said, "Charlie, come down to Atlanta." He came down to Atlanta and we started working. I saw that he was, this thing had shifted for him where y'all see him now. He is, this was kind of at the beginning of that. This is back in 2000, 1999, 2000. And he had shifted. He was with his wife, Maheen, and they just hung out and they stayed and we wrote this album. And through that, I wrote this record called Without You for him. And he was scared to sing the record because he had never sang a record like that before. And I said, "Charlie, this is the record that people want to hear from you." I said, "The Gap Band is the Gap Band, but this is Charlie Wilson now. And let's just try it." And that record, it was a magical time because it was so much healing for him. I think it was healing for a lot of people in the studio. He brought so much knowledge and wisdom, him and his wife, to the situation.
Yeah.
And when we wrote Without You, I literally wrote that in the moment based off our conversation, right? And then so he gets in there, he knocks it out, and he did that. If you ever listen to that record, all the ad-libs on that album, on that song, he did it one take. He sang that in one, like he just killed it. And that was on the independent label. It didn't have that. From that, his career took back off again, and now he's touring and doing his thing.
Yeah,
but
crazy.
That's probably one of the more memorable moments.
Wow.
I mean, all of them have, but that was a personal one. It's
for sure.
Sometimes you never see the artist. Sometimes we just be like, but that was it.
Yeah,
amazing,
wow.
Amazing, absolutely amazing. Laney, you you really dropped some really heavy stuff on us on this show.
Yeah, you have. Yeah.
Hey,
some
excuse
nuggets
me,
have been dropped.
I gotta try to swallow some of this, man.
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
I want to ask you, what do you look for in an artist, today's artist? What do you look for?
Ooh, well, what I'm supposed to say is I look for, how are your, this is how the game looks at it. How are your numbers looking? It's an analytics game now. We're looking at, how many fans do you have? I still love the discovery aspect of discovering an artist the same way I used to. People talk about, can you sing? And it's never been that. It's, do you have a tone? A memorable tone. There's people when they sing this record and you'll remember the tone of their voice. The same person, somebody else could sing that same record and it won't come off the same because the tone is not there.
Yeah.
And so Tony has a tone. Charlie has a tone. Beyonce has a tone. Those are the things that everybody gets into once you find a song. It's the tone of voice that's their brand.
Yeah.
So you can have people that can sing and they don't have a great tone. So you have looking for great tone. You're looking for marketing ability, particularly now. How much we can get on the marketing side and what they bring to the table. If it's not always about the best looking person. It's about the most interesting and what they bring to the table. Some of the parts that we look at when we look at the tabloid side of the game of all of the stuff that everybody hears is that also works in their artistry. That craziness that we talk about sometimes works in why they are who they are. Kanye works where he works when he, everybody, oh, Kanye crazy. No, that's just part. He's making more money than he ever has.
Yeah. Wow.
Because he just, it's all of the things that combine together, but it also helps him in his artistry. So, you're looking for just magic, lightning in a bottle. You hope they got some momentum going. If not, then we come in and try to help them build a momentum with their, social media. It's just such a different game now that the entry points are so many. You just know it when you have it.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
I want to shoot a couple of things at you, Laney, because this is called Talking to the Band.
Okay,
I want to talk about bands. You got artists that actually play instruments.
Yes.
Give us your thoughts, man. Is the music business gonna take a turn back toward real bands, Cameo, Confunction, Lakeside? I'm talking
File
you see the
players,
business making that turn.
Earth, Wind, and Fire. Well, Isley Brothers, Earth, Wind, and Fire. Yeah, that's a good example there. Yeah,
you see the business making a turn in that direction at some point.
I see a hybrid. The hybrid is going. I mean, let me tell you what the problem is. First, let me address the problem, and it's not the record business. It's not music. When we took music out of schools, and this is the things that when we took music out of school, we took instruments out of kids' hands that had an opportunity to discover that they could play something. So a lot of times the musician came from people in school. When we were in school, you got, you put your band together in high school and y'all played together, and this person was a good guitar player. Well, he ended up being in a band with that person who was a bad bass player, and then that became Earth, Wind, and Fire, or that became such and such and such. Right now, there's, the music programs and music appreciation. I think one of the things that we see when we talk to them, particularly the younger generation, is that you'd say something like, "Oh yeah, that's Stevie Wonder." Who is that?
Yeah.
Who is Steve? So the music appreciation and getting music education, we either got to get some way to get it back in the schools or get it some way where it's outside of it. Because hip hop is a perfect example of when they took that out, we created rap. And we used what we had. We had turntables, people were dancing. We took the art to a street level because they had taken it out of schools. So now you barely have anything. When I was in high school, I had a radio and TV class. We was in there shooting videos. And now you ain't got nothing. So what kids are getting now is they're learning their first musical experience through, now I can get a laptop and I can get this computer and I can get this software, and the software is emulating things that producers like myself used to be our tricks that we used to go, well, this is my bag. I'm gonna do this with this arpeggiated thing, and I'm gonna take this. And now they're creating software. So now all a kid has to do is go, and then and they're playing them like video games. You don't even need a keyboard to program anymore. People keep programming on their typewriter, on your typewriter from your computer. So there's a hybrid coming where I see the last of the guys that play guitar, the guys that play bass, the guys that play drums, keyboards, combined with the computer thing. And so you're gonna see on stage less people, but a much fuller sound, because so much will be coming from the tape, from computer, from the hard drive. So now the backgrounds are gonna sound great. You don't have no feedback no more because everybody got little enters ears on, and we're playing the click. You play into a click. The show is programmed down to a T. There's no we gonna vamp this longer. It's none of that. We gonna do 16 bars on this vamp and then they're out to the next record. So because unless you're willing to drop the computer out and bang, it's not enough. So that's the hybrid. You're gonna see the hybrid between, this world of laptops and computers and few live musicians. I think the drummer will always be a part of the live process, though, regardless of what it goes to, because the drummer brings something in a live performance that the drum machine can't. They can do it at the same time. You can put them on at the same time and have that drummer play to a click, but you still need that. There's something about that live show and a drummer being back there, even if it's just a keyboard and a drummer, So, I don't see the bands and the garage bands when I grew up and my uncles were having, and, I don't see that. I could be wrong. I don't see that. Not in Black music.
Well, that is just gloom and doom right there. That is.
Sorry. I'm sorry.
Man.
But the thing about it is that if you go back and you study the market, like, it was some bands back in the day, but it was a lot of bad bands too.
True.
Every band wasn't good, in that time period. The things that stood out were because of great songwriting. So I think you're going to start to see more songwriters. You're going to see better songwriters in this process and producing than you are. I think the consumer has to just figure out how to go get it. You know, they got to know where to go get it. So when the marketing and promotion arms of these things, particularly with now a lot of these kids are not signing, they're not doing major label deals. They're doing independent. They're putting it out on their own and owning their masters and owning their assets, which is something that's, as far as the future is concerned, from a business perspective, is hugely, you know, that's a big thing. These kids are going to leave this world being able to give their masters to their children. We weren't able. We're just now getting in that business.
That's crazy.
The business that every record that I've ever made, the label owns it. Like I had to give up all of my rights to get to that, you know, to give up, except for, you know, a few percentages here. I give up 100% to get down to 5%, 6% points. So now I write a record and I put it out. I own that master. That kid that's an artist, we're owning that master, and everybody's going, yo, I'm able to make a living now without having to go through the major labels, and I don't have to work at McDonald's. I may not be, you know, Justin Bieber, or I may not be Kanye, but I'm making $150,000, $200,000 a year putting out my music. And it's a job, as you guys know, even doing this. This is a job. You know, getting up and marketing and promoting what you're doing, it's a serious thing. So these kids are growing up where they don't know no difference. So they're coming into the game, and they're going to be able to pass assets, if they manage it correctly, pass these assets down to their children. And that's never been done, particularly, I would say, rarely in Black music.
Wow.
Rarely in Black music, where these rappers, they know what they got, and they know, and they're in it for the money. They're not here to, the rappers is coming in from the business side. They hustle. We came in, you know? They like, we gonna make 8. If it's, is it a bag down there? Oh, I ain't coming in. You know? You asked us back in the day to come play on. Oh yeah, man, I'll come play on some stuff. Don't worry about it. But these guys now, they coming in with, they understand the business a little bit more than we do, especially because they coming from the streets and they understand that street money. So they're bringing it to. It's not that much of a difference between the games. So. You know, they coming in like, you got my bag, bro.
That's some nuggets right there, man. Wow.
You know, So, you know, it's all a perspective how you come into the game and how they seeing it. So they're gonna walk away with a lot more. I mean, we're getting ready to correct that from our perspective, which is why I'm saying we're focusing on our independent thing and adding what we've been doing content-wise and knowledge-wise now to the independent game. So you'll get a record from an independent artist that'll have it. It won't be less than. I hate the fact that people think independent means less than. You know, there's a connotation with that. Now you're gonna, you know, Mercury Records, Motown, A&M. Those are all independent records that just did really well. You know, so we've been getting. Those are the houses that we got Janet Jackson from. We got, you know, LaFace Records was an independent record company. You know. So we got, the music industry is going to see those, we're hopefully going to be part of the renaissance of that new world of the A&Ms, the Motowns. We'll start putting up those houses and doing better deals. I think that in those times, those guys did, you know, what we used to call the standard, where you know, the standard is you come in here and get your butt tore out the frame. You know, we take all your rights, we use your name, you know, we use all, you take, you know, perpetuities. You see that word in your contract. You mean, I remember the first time I said perpetuity sounds like forever, and it is forever. You know, it's like throughout the universe. You know, you see in your contracts throughout the universe, and perpetuity sticks out. You know, in these contracts, that means everything that you just said you give it to us, it's forever throughout the universe and perpetuity.
Oh man, good grief. That's crazy, man. That is crazy. Wow.
Those are the contracts we got. Now the contracts are looking much different.
Wow.
But that's why we charge so much. In those days, that's why we charge, because we're going, well, you're going to make this, so we need this. And it was cool. And then when they start going, well, we don't want to pay y'all that no more, then we start going, oh, okay, well then you have to, and this is why I'm saying the game is pivoting now to the future of just how you look at it. There's lots of money, consumers there. People still love music. people say, you know, there's not a lot of it's some great music out there. People go look for it, but the connection between making a record and the live performance is going to be seamless. It's going to be seamless. It's going to be, I'm making a record, I'm hitting the road. I'm making a record while I'm on the road.
Yeah.
You know,
wow.
Music constantly coming. And that record will be performed on that stage probably before it even comes out.
Yeah. Wow.
You know, so it's all going to be that.
Man, Laney Stewart.
Whoa. Man, you talk about nuggets dropping. Wow. Good grief, man.
We ask all of our guests, man, this one particular question I want to ask you. Well, even before I ask that, you got to appreciate somebody like Chance the Rapper, who's done his own thing, right?
Absolutely.
And as far as distribution, you know, you really don't need the majors anymore to distribute even your music, do you?
Nope. And this is what these kids are discovering. Now, what you're going to see is a lot more independent distribution companies coming back in. You're going to see there's some great, you know, independent distribution, and you just go and get your record. If they match you with the marketing and promotion, is what you're really looking for. You know, they come in and say, yeah, we're going to give you a little money for, you know, marketing promotion to get it started. But the creative freedom that you can have now to put your record out, figure out the market for yourself as an artist, and go, you know, when we put these records out, these don't work. But whenever we do these records, this is what the fans love from us. Let's give them this.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of trial and error that nobody holds against you, because as Tony told me this a long time ago. He said, if a record don't work, nobody heard it, so you don't have to feel bad. You know.
Yeah. Wow.
You know, if a record don't work, it didn't work. Nobody heard it.
Yeah.
And that's the way the game is right now. You can put a record out, and if it sucks, nobody heard it. Yeah. But the ones, when you look on Spotify, the ones that are at the top of the list that they say, you know, title, whatever, these are the gems. And when you go back and you listen to Earth, Wind and Fire, and when you listen, they all had garbage on their records too.
Sure did.
But they have a body of work now that we look at and go, Isley Brothers, they have a body of work.
Yes.
So what you're trying to do now is you can take as many shots as you want to without having to deal with the label interference per se of trying to create those moments, because the label lives for the single hit. Now you can just you can go out there, and I miss those. You know, there's a kid right now that's got, you know, 105,000 followers that love him, and eventually they'll nail a hit, and it'll go from that to 2 million followers. So, you know, it's just a matter of trial by error, hitting these distributors, having a marketing game plan. If you don't have a marketing game plan, just putting a record up, it just goes up with the other 62,000 that went up yesterday.
Yeah.
Man.
See what I'm saying? So,
Wow.
you want to have a marketing game plan. A lot of time is spent. What we're doing right now is we got tons of music on our artists that ready to come out, but now it's time to put the marketing game plan together. So you're just executing and not just sitting there going, oh, we're responding to the market. Now you're going, okay, well, if this happens, we're going to do this. If this happens, we're going to do that.
Yeah.
And that's how you want to. And that gives the artist a chance to win, and don't take those L's too hard.
Yeah.
Because everybody takes an L.
Yeah.
The Supremes, when you look at that Motown documentary, the Supremes took L's for years. I didn't know that they couldn't find a hit for the Supremes in Motown for years.
Wow.
I just thought they came out being the Supremes.
That's what I thought. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. But they were called around Motown. When I watched the documentary that Berry Gordy did, they were called the No-Hit Supremes around Motown.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And they were really working. Man. So the process, I say that to not, you know, put them on blast, but to say every artist has a process to their greatness. It doesn't just come in and go. I think the perception of it is, and the misnomer is, everybody walks in and it just goes kaboom, and it doesn't.
Yeah,
it doesn't happen that way. It's a process to this thing, and I think that when you embrace the process, then you can have an outstanding career. And then shut out the noise of the people who are, while you're in that process, telling you can't do it. Because those will be the people on the side going, well, you sure you want to do this? You know, you should at least go get a job. You know what I mean? You got to block all that shit out. Excuse my language. and go through your process and know if you're good. You know, if you ain't good, then find another space in the music industry to be in. But
that's good.
You know, if you love this game and you want to be in this game, there's so much to do, so many places to get in. Everybody's not an artist, everybody's not a producer, songwriter. You know, there's so many jobs and careers that are in this thing. You know, A&R is a thing of the past. Nobody care about them no more.
Yeah,
you know, wow. Yeah, because it's like you don't need nobody to tell you your record, you got a record or not. You can just play it for your kids and they go, man, that's crazy. That's all you need. That's all, your friends gonna tell you, man, that shit sucks. Right. It sucks, you know. So why do I need a guy that's sitting, you know, getting paid $300,000 a year to tell me he ain't been to the club in years?
Right.
You know, he don't know. So
man, Laney Stewart.
Man, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Oh, we love it. Hey, Laney, what's next, man? What is next for Laney Stewart, man? Give us that forecast. What's next?
You know, we've been, I think that we kind of got to a place, like I said, I don't know if it was one of the time we were in this episode when we were first talking, but, you know, we got some people writing some things and some books have been written and been part of some documentaries and things. And then my brother was like, are they trying to get us out the game? Like, they start writing books and shit about you. Like, is it like over? Is it time for us to stop? So I'm thinking about, you know, the future, you know, what I don't want to be making records, you know, 10 years from now, you know, like this. I think there's got to be something else. And, you know, obviously real estate and things like that and investing and stuff like that has become a big thing for us and for me particularly. But I think that one thing that people don't understand a lot of times is the sacrifice that's made when we've lived in a submarine for 30 years.
Yeah.
You know, you go to a studio, there's no lights, there's no windows.
Yeah.
You know, time flies.
Yeah.
Your kids grow up, you know, and I think it's just time in the future. The business will be the business and we all come and go through it. And afterwards, having a life that you can travel and maybe see the world and spend some time with, like, you know, I'm you know, obviously really involved with my kids, but even more concentrated, hopefully no grandchildren soon, but you know, I know that's on the horizon. And so just preparing for that life, you know, life after music. What is that? You know, sometimes used to ask myself, what is it? I had no clue because this had been such a thing. So, you know, now it's just kind of thinking about that and seeing what's next. So that's how we're, you know, I think we're going to be watching the kids come up and they're all in the, you know, all of our kids, my daughter's a model. My nieces and nephews do, you know, shooting videos and my son's an artist that, matter of fact, I'm helping him with his stuff right now. So they all want it. And, you know, we all tried to get him not to do it. Please go do something else, you know, but, you know, they wanted to do it. And so we're going to, you know, hopefully be able to mentor them and take them to the next level and just, you know, hope and pray for their success.
Man, Laney, thank you so much, man. It's been such
Thank
an honor.
you. This has been great, man. When you guys want me to come back on, I'll bring some more bad news about the record business. They be like, man, don't get him on no more.
No, man. We got to bring you back again, lady.
We do.
Thank you so much, man. Thank you so much.
Thank you, man.
Thank you.
We want to thank everybody for tuning in and listening too. Cedric, that's all I got, man.
Oh, man, the nuggets have been dropped, y'all. I hope everybody got a lot out of this one, man, because this was great, man.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, I'm out of here. Laney, take care, baby.
All right, man. Thank you, guys.
All right. I'm out of here. Later.
Bye-bye.